some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it.
Disney are dictators. Those were the words that lit up social media as fans and even Avengers stars slammed Disney for firing Jimmy Kimmel. Overnight, one of late-night TV's longest-running hosts vanished from the air. No warning, no explanation. And Hollywood went to war. Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson, and Robert Downey Jr. didn't just speak out. They accused their own studio of bowing to political pressure and betraying free speech. Hashtags like Cancel Disney exploded, streaming cancellations soared, and Wall Street panicked. So, was this justice or censorship? Stick around, because this fight is about to shake the entire entertainment industry. It all began on what seemed like an ordinary Monday night, the kind where millions tuned in for some laughs before bed. Jimmy Kimmel, one of late-night television's longest-running and most recognizable hosts, sat behind his desk on Jimmy Kimmel Live and opened with a monologue that would soon send shockwaves through Hollywood, Washington, and Wall Street. The topic? The shocking murder of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, a tragedy that had already ignited fierce political debate across the country. With his trademark mix of sharp wit and biting commentary, Kimmel accused certain political figures of twisting the tragedy into a weapon for political gain. His words were pointed and unapologetic. "We hit some new lows this weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to spin this tragedy." To his fans, this was vintage Kimmel, fearless, satirical, a voice unafraid to call out hypocrisy. But to others, it was crossing a line. Conservative commentators immediately accused Kimmel of politicizing a murder, arguing he had smeared millions of Americans. The backlash only intensified when prosecutors in Utah revealed a shocking detail. The shooter wasn't a MAGA supporter at all. He was a leftist who allegedly targeted Charlie Kirk because of his stance against LGBTQ+ causes. That revelation set off a political firestorm, with Donald Trump's allies demanding swift punishment for Kimmel and calling his remarks dangerous misinformation. Behind the scenes, Disney, the parent company of ABC, went into full crisis mode. Brendan Carr, chairman of the FCC and a close Trump ally, publicly condemned the segment and issued a stark warning that ABC affiliates could face losing their broadcast licenses if they continued to air Jimmy Kimmel Live. The message was clear: comply or face the consequences. Affiliate giants Nexstar and Sinclair, both with billion-dollar mergers awaiting FCC approval, quickly announced they would pull Kimmel's show from their lineups. The pressure on Disney executives became unbearable. Within just 24 hours, the decision was made. Jimmy Kimmel Live would be suspended indefinitely, a move that would ignite one of the biggest cultural battles in modern television history. The announcement hit Hollywood like an earthquake. Stephen Colbert told his audience, "Tonight, we are all Jimmy Kimmel."
Tonight, we are all Jimmy Kimmel.
Jimmy Fallon warned that this wasn't just about one comedian, it was about whether satire itself could survive in America. But the most unexpected backlash came from inside Disney's own Marvel universe, the Avengers. Chris Evans called the decision cowardly. Scarlett Johansson labeled it morally bankrupt. Robert Downey Jr. said it was a grotesque betrayal. And Mark Ruffalo warned, if comedians can be silenced, actors are next. Writers are next. Directors are next. Suddenly, the very heroes who brought billions to Disney's box office were accusing the studio of becoming tyrannical. Viral edits appeared online, cutting together Captain America speeches about liberty with Chris Evans condemning Disney. Iron Man's iconic line, "I am Iron Man," was spliced with Robert Downey Jr. calling his own studio cowardly. The symbolism was too perfect to ignore. On screen, they were heroes who fought tyranny. Off-screen, they were accusing their own studio of becoming the thing it claimed to fight. The backlash didn't end with the stars of Hollywood speaking out. It spread like wildfire to the fans. Ordinary viewers, the very audience Disney depended on, rose up in open revolt. Hashtags like #Cancel Disney and #Stand with Kimmel exploded across Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, generating millions of posts in just a matter of hours. This wasn't just talk. People took action. Millions of subscribers abruptly canceled their Disney Plus and Hulu accounts. Families scrapped long-planned trips to Disney World and Disneyland, posting screenshots of their cancellations as a form of protest. Merchandise sales took a nosedive. Pre-sales for upcoming Marvel blockbusters weakened as fans pledged to boycott opening weekends. Wall Street was paying attention. Within 5 trading days, Disney's stock had plunged more than 12%, erasing billions of dollars in shareholder value. Credit agencies issued warnings about the company's future outlook. On earnings calls and investor meetings, angry shareholders openly questioned whether CEO Bob Iger was still the right person to lead the company through this storm. What began as a single late-night monologue had now snowballed into a full-scale corporate meltdown. Inside Disney's Burbank headquarters, emergency meetings ran deep into the night. Executives were split down the middle. Some pushed hard to reinstate Jimmy Kimmel immediately, arguing that doing so was the only way to protect Disney's reputation as a supporter of creativity and free speech. Others warned that bringing him back would trigger a direct confrontation with the FCC and the White House, putting billions of dollars in station carriage agreements at risk. As one insider put it bluntly, every direction we move, we lose. Morale inside ABC plummeted. Writers, producers, and crew members labeled the suspension capitulation in real time. Members of Kimmel's team quit in protest, and the unrest spread. Walkouts disrupted Good Morning America and The View. Even stars of Grey's Anatomy hesitated to renew contracts, fearing they could be next. The phrase, "We're done with it," became the rallying cry, whispered in back rooms, then shouted in public interviews, capturing the mood of an entire network in open rebellion. Meanwhile, Donald Trump was celebrating. He mocked Jimmy Kimmel as a talentless host with bad ratings and congratulated ABC for finally having the courage to do what had to be done. At rallies, he even called for NBC and CBS to take down other late-night hosts, calling Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers talentless too. Networks quietly began softening their monologues, fearing they might be next. Writers admitted they were self-censoring. Late-night comedy was now operating under a cloud of fear. Civil liberties groups sounded the alarm, arguing that this was dangerously close to government censorship. Using the FCC to pressure a network over political speech, they warned, might violate the First Amendment. Lawsuits were prepared, and some predicted the case could eventually reach the Supreme Court. Internationally, the fallout was just as severe, maybe even worse. Major European media outlets portrayed the suspension as a warning sign of creeping authoritarianism in the United States, citing it as proof that political power could now decide who gets to speak and who gets silenced. For decades, Disney had been celebrated as a global beacon of imagination and freedom, a company that brought magic and hope to audiences of every generation. Now that image was crumbling. Around the world, headlines called Disney a political pawn, a corporation more concerned with appeasing power than standing by its people. For a company that depends on international box office dominance, global tourism, and a carefully protected family-friendly reputation, this was a public relations disaster that no amount of marketing spin could easily fix. Through it all, Jimmy Kimmel stayed completely silent. No interviews, no tweets, no carefully worded statements. His silence became its own statement, one that divided the country. To critics, it was a humiliating sign of defeat. To supporters, it was proof that the atmosphere had become so dangerous that even a late-night veteran feared speaking out. Then came the twist. Reports surfaced of a $150 million NBC deal, a potential comeback that could ignite a whole new late-night war. This saga has become about far more than one man or one show. It's about whether corporations can resist political pressure and whether creative voices can still speak freely in a world where advertisers, executives, and governments all have a veto. Disney's once untouchable brand is now scarred. ABC may never fully recover, and the entire late-night TV format, already struggling to compete with YouTube and TikTok, is now facing an existential threat. So here we are. Disney, the company that built its empire telling stories about heroes who stood up to tyrants, is now accused of silencing one of its own. Its stars are openly rebelling. Its fans are boycotting. Its investors are furious. And all of it started with one monologue. So what do you think? Was Disney defending its brand? Or did it bow to political pressure and silence one of its biggest stars? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear your take. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, hit like, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter in this unfolding Hollywood drama. This story is far from over, and we'll be here to cover every twist and turn. Thanks for watching.